In this class, we will try to learn about the remaining categories of the crystalline solids, which are actually the metallic solids and the covalent or network solid. Okay. So first of all, we're going to try, study about the metallic solids. Okay. And actually, we can define the metallic solid as follows. Okay. So you can also write this point. Okay. In metallic solids, the definition of metallic solids like that. Definition of metallic solid. Okay, metallic solids. So here you can write that definition. In metallic solids, the constituent particles are mainly ions. Okay, ions of that metal, and they are surrounded and held together, or you can say bind together by a sea of free electrons. Okay, so that means the metallic solids are actually those solids in which the positive ions, okay, the positive ions of that metal will going to be act as a what constituent particle. Okay, and this constituent particle cannot move. Okay, because this is solid, we already know that in case of solid, the constituent particle cannot move. Okay, but here these constituent particles are, because these constituent particles are what positive in nature, no? So they cannot, there will be some repulsion if there, let's suppose there are no any electrons present inside or in between these positive ions, then there will be some repulsion. So because of this repulsion, the solid will going to be destabilized. Okay, but here in this case actually, in metallic solid, there will be some electrons. Actually these electrons will be contributed from the metal atoms. Okay, maybe one electrons will be contributed from the metals, or maybe two, or maybe even more than two. Okay, so because of this presence of these electrons, they will going to, actually these electrons will going to bind this, bind this positive ions together. Okay, and as a result we're going to get a what, a solid structure or a solid state. But here again we have to know some points. Okay, like here the electrons are actually evenly distributed throughout the solid. Okay? And the second point is also the positive ions are also going to form a ordered ordered arrangement. Coming to the physical properties of this metallic solid, so the first one is actually your electrical conductivity. What is the meaning of electrical conductivity? The meaning of electrical conductivity is that if the substance can um, conduct electricity, okay, then those substance is known as what, electrical conductor. And here these electrons are actually what, they are free. That means they can move freely. Okay, they can move freely. So that means what, that means if they can move freely, this, if these electrons, if the all the electrons can move freely, then we can say that, let's suppose we have a solid which is actually, let's suppose, metallic solid. Okay, so if you try to pass some, some electrical current through this solid, then because the electrons, the electrons present inside these metallic solids are what, they can move freely. So these electrons will going to move from this part to this part easily. Okay, without uh, any resistance or very less resistance. Okay, so if we connect a bulb, then the bulb will going to glow. Okay, because the electron can move freely, or that means what we can say, that electrical conductivity nature. Okay, this electrical conductivity nature is actually coming from the electrons, that means the free electrons. Okay, understand? Again, additionally, this is the first properties. Okay, what is the first properties? Then the electrical conductivity nature. Okay, so that it is actually actually they are highly conductive in nature. Okay, or we can even write highly electrical conductive in nature. Okay, same thing. And the second properties, physical properties, is your conductivity, thermal conductivity. Okay, actually they are very good thermal conductor. Okay, the thermal conductance nature of this metallic solids are also because of the free electrons. Okay, free moving electrons. Okay, since the increment of the temperature will going to increase the randomness of the electrons, as a result actually they can carry the thermal energy from one end of a metals to the another end of the metal. Okay, until it becomes uniform in uniform, the actually that heat will going to be uniform. So we can understand this thermal conductivity like by using an example. Suppose we have a metallic solid, a piece of metallic solid, and just let's suppose we will going to apply some heat, okay, here in this portion, or when we actually apply some thermal energy to a portion, then the actually kinetic energy of that electrons, or the randomness of that electron will going to increase. As a result, what will going to happen? If the kinetic energy means what, their speed will going to increase. That means the speed of these electrons will going to increase. As a result, the collision between these electrons will going to increase. Understand? Because kinetic energy is speed. If speed will going to increase, then what will going to happen? Their collision, the frequency of collision is going to increase. Understand? So if the frequency of the collision is going to increase, that means what? They will going to the temperature of this portion will going to increase. Okay, since we know that these electrons can move freely throughout the solids, so the heat energy can also heat energy can also what, distribute from here to here, or you can say that the heat energy, okay, this thermal energy actually can flow from here to here. Okay, because of by using what, the free movement of these electrons. Understands? The next physical properties actually is they are glossy in nature. Okay, so that means because they can easily reflect the lights, okay, like sunlight or any light, okay, they can reflect, so they are glossy in nature. And also some of them can exhibit some color. Okay, so they are glossy in nature, and they can not all, okay, some of them can exhibit some color for certain cases. Okay, and this actually this nature is also coming from what, the free electrons. Okay, properties fourth and final properties, physical properties, which you have to know is that they are highly malleable. Okay, and ductile. So what is the meaning of highly malleable? That means they can be we can apply high pressure without breaking. That's why actually we can we can apply very high pressure, or we can press them into different shapes, okay, without breaking or cracking. Understand? So these four are actually the physical properties of the metallic solids. So now let us discuss about the last classification of the crystalline solid, which is your covalent or network solid. Now we're going to discuss about the last categories of the crystalline solids, which is covalent or network solids. Okay, so here actually in covalent or network solid, they will going to exhibit non-metallic behavior or non-metallic nature. Okay, so and the most important thing is that the intermolecular force of attractions here the constituent particles, the force between the constituent particles are actually covalent bond. So that's why this type of solid is known as covalent solid. Understand? And actually they will going to form a giant molecule. You see, they will going to form the repeating unit. That means the constituent particle will going to form what, in between that repeating unit, the covalent bond will be there, and they will going to be repeat over and over and over. Okay, so they will finally going to give a very big molecules, or sometimes it is known as, okay, giant molecules or big molecules. Okay, by forming a network type of they're going to form a network of the covalent bond. Okay, and by forming that network of the covalent bond, they will going to form that covalent solid. And that, since it will be like a network now, so it is known as also network solids. Understand? And we already know that the covalent bonds are very strong. Actually, we have to apply a huge amount of energy, external energy, to break this bond. Okay, so since the bond, actually this covalent bond, actually this is what this covalent bond will act as a what, it will be like a intermolecular force of attraction. If you compare this covalent bond with the other types of solids, other that's are it may be molecular solids, or it may be that ionic solids. In case of ionic solids, we know that that force of interaction will be what, your in case of ionic solid, the force of interaction is your what, Coulombic force of interactions. Okay, and in case of the polar molecules, okay, polar molecular solid, the force of interaction is your dipole-dipole interaction. And for non-polar solid, it will be like what, London force. Okay, London dispersion force. So but here, if you compare this this interaction, it is actually what, these are actually your constituent particle. Okay, here also these are actually constituent particle, and this constituent particle. But here, in case of covalent or network solid, the the intermolecular force is what, the force is actually the covalent bond. But here it is not bond, these are actually interactions. Okay, these are actually attractive forces, but it is not an attractive force, it is a bond. That's why it is a very strong. Okay, that means we have to apply very huge amount of energy to break the intermolecular or break the this bond. Okay, so that's why they are very hard in nature, or they are brittle. Actually, that means the physical properties, coming to the physical properties, they are very hard. Okay, they are very high. For example, diamond is a very hard solid. Okay, so in the case of physical properties, what we can say, physical properties of covalent or you can say network solid. Okay, covalent solids. Okay, so coming to this point, so first of all, they will going to, because the the intermolecular interaction here is not a interaction. Actually, it is a, even it is a what, a bond, or even this is what, this is a covalent bond. So it is a very strong actually bond, so we have to apply very huge amount of energies. That's why the this type of solids will going to melt very high temperature. Okay, that means they have high melting point. Okay, so even in some cases, okay, so in some covalent solid, may even actually decompose before melting. That means they can even lost their identity. Okay, before melting. That means when, what is the melting? And let's suppose in case of water. Okay, water, or in case of let's suppose in case of water, ice. Okay, ice, we can represent ice by this water, this molecular formula is 2. Okay, and also the liquid water also water like this. Okay, and the vapor also like this is 2. Okay, but here in case of, if decomposition means what, they will going to break the bond, will going to break. So that means it will not going to melt from, in case of this some covalent solid, their structure will be not remain same, that, or their molecular formula will not going to remain same, they will going to decompose. That means their bond will going to break before the melting. Okay, understand? So because, why, the reason behind is that they are, the strong bond is very strong. Okay, some examples of the covalent solids are actually diamond and silicon carbide, and even graphite. Okay, so graphite is actually very interesting example. Okay, so we have already we have already able to know that in case of covalent or network solid, the the melting, so they are very hard. Okay, they are very hard in nature. But in case of graphite, actually they are soft, in nature. Why? So this is a very it is a very interesting point. Okay, and even even in case of the other covalent solid, they are non-conductor of electricity. This is a physical properties. Okay, non-conductor of electricity. So but here graphite can conduct electricity. Graphite is the which is actually used in pencil. Okay, so the black part of the pencil which actually we use to write, okay, or draw something, that actually that part is actually made of graphite. Okay, now let us find out why actually graphite is soft in nature and they can conduct electricity. Okay, so coming to the first point, actually why actually they are soft in nature. Actually we know that the softness or the hardness, okay, is actually because of the intermolecular force of attractions of between that constituent particles. If the if the intermolecular force of attractions is strong, then the hard that solid will be hard. If the intermolecular force of intermolecular force of attractions are weak, then that solid will be your soft in nature. So here in case of the graphite also, we can actually explain the softness of the graphite by using this concept of this intermolecular force of attractions, or the binding forces, okay, of these constituent particles or constituents atoms. Okay, actually the soft nature of this graphite is coming from actually its unique structure, actually, which is shown in the figure 1.4 in your NCERT book. Okay, so this is the structure of the graphite in the figure 1.4. Actually this image, actually I have taken this image from your NCERT book. Okay, and here this actually this dots represent the carbon atoms, which are actually the constituent particles for this solid. Okay, so actually these carbon atoms are arranged in different layers. Okay, here actually in this image they shows only 3 layers, but in real case actually there are a very large amount of large number of layers present in a piece of graphite. Okay, so we already know graphite is what, a pencil, piece of pencil. Okay, so here if you only try to only observe this layer, let's suppose this layer, only one layer. Okay, so here you see there are many carbon atoms are present. Okay, so these carbon atoms will going to form covalent bond with three neighboring carbon atoms. Okay, so here again we know that the the valency, or the valence number of valence electron in case of carbon is what, how many, 3, no, not 3, 4. Okay, 4. Okay, so that means the carbon can form 4 bonds with the other atoms or other elements. Okay, but here only 3 bonds are there, so that means 1 electrons are remain in free state, or that means that electron can move freely. Okay, for this let's suppose for this atom. Okay, similarly for this one also the same case. So that means what we can say, for all it actually is each carbon atom will have 1 free electron. Okay, which can move freely. That means because of these free electrons, actually because of that free electron which is present in each and every atom present in that graphite, will result actually because of this free electron, the electrical conductive nature is coming. Okay, because this free electron can move throughout these solids. That means that graphite can conduct electricity. Understand? So similarly we can also justify the softness of this graphite by using this this typical structure, or the, here you see again if you consider a layer, let's suppose this layer. Okay, so in this case you see here this actually these are what, these are actually these spots or these dots are constituent particles. Okay, so you can actually or you can even compare these constituent particles in with some different molecular or different crystals, okay, like polar molecular solid or non-polar molecular solids. In case of polar molecular solids, we know that the intermolecular force of attraction between two constituent particles is what? Dipole-dipole interactions. In case of non-polar molecular solids, the interaction is, or they are held together. That means the constituent particles are held together because of London dispersion force. But here, these constituent particles are held together not because of the some interactions, but here it is actually because of what? Sharing of electrons. That means covalent bond. So that's why it is a very strong bond. Okay, but the thing is that here this is the layer. Okay, so one layer, in a layer, the the intermolecular force of all the constituent particles is what? Covalent bond. Okay, for one layer. Similarly for this layer also covalent bond, all the intermolecular process. And here also for the upper layer also it will be what? Your covalent bond. But here actually in between actually these layers, they are also attracted. Actually this let's suppose this one, this this constituent particle also has some attraction with this constituent particles. That means some layer to layer attraction will be there, but this is not actually a very strong force. It is actually, this force is known as van der Waals force. Okay, the force which is between this constituent particle with this constituent particle, or this constituent particles with this constituent particles, is actually your van der Waals force. Similarly this one with this one with the dotted lines. Okay, this dotted line represent actually the van der Waals force, actually which is in between the layers. Okay, understand? But here these attraction force are very small in comparison to the the covalent that means covalent force, or you can say that the strength of the covalent bond is very higher than this these interactions. So what happened, this can actually, one layer can slide over this layer, or this layer can slide over this layer. Okay, so that's why this is very soft. That's why actually we can use the graphite as a lubricant also. Okay, because of this softness. Now let us summarize this this classification of crystalline solids. So here in the table 1.2, this table actually summarize this all the discussions which we have done, or we have actually studied this all the crystalline solids. In case of molecular solids, actually again we have actually further subdivided the molecular solid into three subcategories, and they are actually non-polar, polar, and hydrogen bonded. Okay, so in case of non-polar, polar, or hydrogen bonded, we all know that for this three, actually the constituent particle is what? Molecules. Okay, and the intramolecular force of attractions for non-polar, it will be your dispersion or London force of attractions, and for polar it will be dipole-dipole interactions, and for hydrogen bonding it will be intermolecular hydrogen bonding. Okay, not intermolecular hydrogen bonding. And coming to the example part, for non-polar molecule, it's argon, CCl4, hydrogen, iodine, carbon dioxide. So in this in case of this these molecules, that means argon, CCl4, hydrogen, iodine, and carbon dioxide, they all are what? They are all are non-polar in nature. That means their net dipole moment is 0. So you have to know how to find out the net dipole moment. Okay, so I'm going to solve some problems after finishing this chapter. Okay, but not now. After finishing this chapter, I will going to discuss about some problems. Okay, not only this one, some important problems related to this chapter. Okay, so again in case of polar molecular solid, the examples are HCl, because it will going to have some, it will going to exhibit some polar nature. Okay, so, and sulfur dioxide, because it has some net dipole moment. And in case of hydrogen bonded molecular solids, example is water. Okay, IH. Okay, ice is the solid form of water, that means liquid water. Liquid water, which is IH. Okay, so and coming to the physical nature, that means whether what is whether it is or soft or hard. Okay, so in case of non-polar and polar, they will be soft in nature, and in case of hydrogen bonded, it will be slightly harder than the above two. Okay, that means the non-polar and polar. Okay, And the electrical conductivity, they all are not good conductor. That means they are all exhibit the insulator behavior. Okay, and coming to the melting point, again we know that it will depends upon what interactions. That means the intermolecular force of attraction between the constituent particles. Okay, so in case of non-polar molecules it's very low. In case of polar molecules it will be slightly higher than that non-polar, but it is low. Okay, and in case of hydrogen bonded it will be slightly higher than polar and non-polar. Okay, understand? So the coming to the ionic solids. So ionic solids, we all know that the constituent particles are ions. Okay, positive and that means cation and anion, and it will not going to this cation and anion will not going to move freely. Okay, in that solid state. Please remember this point. Okay, so the binding or the attraction force, that means the intermolecular force of attraction, which will going to bind this constituent particle, will be what? The Coulombic interactions. Okay, so that means we can use the what Coulombic actually the equation, Coulomb equation, or Coulomb's equation, which is F is equal to Q1 Q2 divided by 4 pi epsilon R square. Okay, to calculate that interactions. And the example: sodium chloride, magnesium oxide, zinc sulfate, calcium fluoride, sodium hydroxide. Many examples are there. Many salts like potassium chloride, ammonium chloride. Okay, so and they are very hard. Okay, because the the interaction, that means the intermolecular force of attraction between the constituent particles is very strong. So that's why they are very hard but brittle. Okay, because if you force them, then it will going to break. If you apply some pressure, then it will break. So it will brittle in nature. And coming to the electrical conductivity nature, it will be also insulator. It will act as an insulator. Because why? Because this, we know that the ions can, the ion can conduct electricity, but here this ion will going to be at a fixed position, this constituent, because this constituents are constituent particles are ions, but the constituent particles are at fixed position in solid state. Okay, that's why it is insulator. But when we are going to melt them, okay, if we are going to apply some temperature to molten state, then it will, because molten state, that ion that solid will be no longer in the form of solid. Okay, it will become liquid type thing. Okay, that means that ion can move. So if the ion can move, then it will conduct electricity. Okay, so similarly, if you prepare some solution, let us suppose aqueous solution, then what is going to happen? Because of the dielectric constant of water is very high, that's why the intermolecular force of attraction will be lower. That's why this ions, the constituent particles, that means the ions will going to be far from each other. Okay, that's why they will going to dissociate it into the ions in the aqueous solution. Okay, so they can move. If they can move, then they can conduct electricity. That's why in molten state and in aqueous solution, the ionic solid will going to conduct electricity. Understand? This point is very important. Okay, this point is very important, not for higher secondary, your board exam. It is also important for the the entrance examination, and also if you want to continue in this field, that means chemistry, then also it is important, because in BSc also it is, this concept will going to be used. Okay, and coming to the melting point, again it will be high because the interaction is high, intermolecular attraction. Okay, intermolecular force of attraction between the constituent particles are high, so melting point is also high. So coming to the metallic solids has what? The constituent particles are actually positive ions. Okay, in what? In a sea of delocalized electrons. That means the electron can move free. Okay, freely move it. The electron can move freely. Okay, so the nature of this attraction force is what? Metallic bonding. Okay, and example like iron, copper, silver, magnesium, many okay, many metals, metallic solid. Actually all the metal solids are actually metallic solid. Okay, and physical nature is they are very hard but malleable and ductile. We have already discussed this part today. So, and in case of the electrical conductivity, they are electrical conductor. They're very good conductor actually. And the melting point is fairly high. It is very high. Okay, and now coming to the last type of solid, which is what? Which is your covalent or network solid. So here the constituent particles are atoms. Okay, and they are actually bind with each other. Actually that means the bind, that means the intermolecular force here. Actually the the constituent particles are bind with each other by using covalent bonding. Okay, that's why it is known as covalent bond, sorry, covalent solid. Okay, so the examples are many examples are there. Sodium, sorry, not sodium, silicon carbide, diamond, graphite, aluminum nitride, silica, okay, quartz, many. Okay, so here a very interesting point is what the interesting example is diamond. No, not diamond, actually your carbon, graphite. Okay, graphite. So because it will going to exhibit some exceptional behavior. Okay, and we did not study about the diamond. Diamond is actually very strong one. Okay, they will going to exhibit, actually this is the hardest, very hard solid. Okay, so actually in mining, in petroleum industry, so when the actually it is diamonds are used, okay, to to drill the pipes in the earth surface. Okay, because there are many rocks in the different level of the earth surface. In diamond, all the constituent particles are actually uh, bind only with covalent bond. Okay, so I am just here you see this figure. Okay, this figure is the figure of the diamond. Actually I am taking this figure from your NCERT book. Okay, so here this is all about the diamond. And now coming to the physical nature, so it will be very hard, and also in some cases it will be soft. Okay, soft in case of what, in case of your that is what, graphite. Okay, and electrical conductivity is actually non-conductor, that means insulator, but in case of the graphite it will be conductor. It is exceptional, so please remember this point. Okay, this remember about this graphite. Okay, the properties of graphite, this is very important for your exam. Okay, so the melting point is very high because it has covalent bond, because to break this covalent bond you need a very huge amount of energy. Okay, that's why the melting point is high. Okay, considerably high or very high. So hope you understand this classification of this crystalline solids. So next we will going to move to the new objective. Okay, next objective of this chapter. Thank you.